Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today I want to be discussing Ashton and their character growth throughout the campaign. Ashton is one of the characters who has evolved the most, in my opinion, out of all the Bell's Hells from beginning to where we are now at episode 67, I believe. And it has been, in my opinion, the most fascinating character change throughout the entire show. A lot of characters have had small changes over a large period of time, but Ashton is the first one, in my opinion, to make a truly massive change in their, at least in their willingness to show their real character as time has gone on. So, with that, let's get started. Obviously, I had to put a spoiler warning in before we get truly started, though, so here's your spoiler warning, and this is your last warning. Spoilers for Campaign 3 and Ashton throughout Campaign 3, starting now. At the beginning of the campaign, we see that Ashton is a very closed-off person. This is shown to us in their physical appearance of them being a stony exterior, hard person to communicate with. They're very non-trusting. They don't really talk to anybody outside of their personal circle, and very slow to begin this trusting process. And this shows in their physical clothing as well, as they literally have brandished on them the words "fuck off." Now, this sort of persona is what we have for Ashton for the first little while in the campaign, until the death of Bertrand Bell. Once Bertrand Bell dies, this facade of Ashton being a hard exterior person not willing to trust or do things for others cracks a little bit as they lead the investigation into finding the killer of Bertrand Bell. And before they fully finish the investigation and murder the murderer, they sort of crawl back into their hard exterior self and return to a less trusting form. But at this moment, we can see that there are cracks in this facade, and they begin to trust those around them more fully, i.e. the Bell's Hells. We wouldn't see another major crack in Ashton's armor for a little while until after they go to the Twilight Museum and steal a helmet and a few other things out of there. But this helmet was particularly eye-catching to Ashton, as it was clearly from the Hishari, which seems to be connected to Ashton in some way or form, and we aren't too sure at this point exactly what it is, but it pisses them off tremendously, also in combination of the rest of this Twilight Museum potentially killing the people that they are with when they were promised that it wouldn't, piss them off as well. So more chinks in the armor are beginning to show, and more caring for those around them are truly coming through, and now another irritation in this helmet of a former connection to their past is now showing us even further that this stoicness, this non-trustingness of the people around them is slowly cracking. It's around this time that we also learn that Ashton, in their own words, used to be soft like the rest of the party. They weren't always an Earth Genasi. They were something else before they ended up where they are now, which to me is a perfect sort of indicator of their personality and their sort of true self that is hiding beneath their stony exterior, which is someone who is much more in touch with their emotions than they really want to let on. A little while after that, we would learn more about the Nobodies, the group of people that Ashton was running with before they ran with the current Bell's Hells group. They were attempting to steal from Gianna Huxham in their house. As they were going through, Ashton was shot in the back of the head and then pushed out of a window and fallen and hit the ground, and was then abandoned by most of the members of the Nobodies. The only one who stayed behind was Milo, who would eventually shove some sort of dunamancy crystal that they had found in Gianna Huxham's place into their head and gave them the powers they now have. This was the first time Ashton sort of revealed that they had lost a family before the Bell's Hells were introduced, and it won't be the last time. Later, Ashton would tell the party and us that the first memories they have is of their family and this mask that they found being involved in some sort of cataclysmic event where his family was ripped apart from him and he was suddenly sundered somewhere else, and he ended up in Bassaris. This is where he would meet up with the Nobodies at an orphanage, and then everything else would continue from there to leading up to when they met with the Bell's Hells. At this point, it becomes very clear that Ashton now pretty well fully trusts the party with everything in their backstory. And it also provides a clear reason as to why Ashton, with very little trust, allowed FCG to stick around with them. And that is because FCG had also had their family ripped apart from them. Maybe by their hands, but still, the family that FCG had was taken away, and Ashton resonated with this as they had lost two family members or family groups before this, and they connected with the plight that FCG had. At this point, the hard exterior armor that was being worn by Ashton is no longer there and present for the Bell's Hells, but if you think there is still a bit of it left, let me tell you that Laudna's death changed that completely. When Laudna died, two people took it the hardest, Imogen and Ashton. Imogen for obvious reasons, and Ashton was the one that surprised me. When Laudna died, Ashton was making sure her body made it out alive because they don't leave people behind. Ashton wanted to prove that he was better than the nobodies in this moment, but also he was caring for someone he truly cared for, as Laudna and him had a few interesting conversations into this leading up to this point, and he damn well cares for her at this point, so he was making sure that she made it out with her body intact, and they made sure that this was the next thing they were going to deal with. Laudna was going to be revived, and Ashton was damn well telling everybody else, this is happening first before anything else, fuck it all else, we don't care. They made sure that her body made it back to Estos and then made it to Whitestone for the revival. They were the ones who carried her basically the whole way. Of course, the whole did some heavy lifting, but whenever her body needed to be physically moved, Ashton was the one to do it, and in my opinion, this is where the armor fully, completely, without any sort of argument to be made, is now cracked for the Bell's Hells. After this, Ashton is much more open to conversation with other members of the Bell's Hells. Laudna specifically gets a lot of communication time with Ashton and seems to resonate with Ashton a lot, but Orym is also another character who gets a lot of conversation time in with them, and they have a fun banter back and forth with Fern. At this point, we can fully confirm that there is no more issues with trust or care for the Bell's Hells. They are completely and utterly cared for by Ashton as a family. They believe that they are now a full-fledged family, and it reflects in combat. In combat, you can watch Ashton make sure everyone else gets off the battlefield first. It happens a few times, and this specifically leads back to Laudna's death, where there was a bunch of confusion as to what was happening. Are they leaving? Are they staying behind and fighting? Ashton is now making sure, from basically now on, they will be one of the last two on the battlefield. Orym does this as well. That's why he's one of the last two on the battlefield. We now snap forward a bit, quite a ways, to where we are now separated between the two groups. There's the Isilra team with Ashton, Laudna, and Orym, and there is the Wildmount team with the rest. The first thing that Ashton makes sure is okay is, where is everybody? Oh shit, not everyone's here, that's not good, and now they're extremely worried, and eventually they would come across other individuals on this journey, specifically that of Bodor. Bodor is a character who tricked the entire group of Isilra into believing they were all a team. These were new family members in the eyes of the party, and they truly trusted Denise, Prism, and Bodor. Unfortunately, this would prove to be a mistake, as Bodor was a member of the Ruby Vanguard and stabbed them all in the back. This tremendously changed Team Isilra for many reasons. Ashton went on a full-out assault to make sure that Bodor couldn't get away, same with Denise, and Laudna made the killing blow. However, during this section where they were finally going to choose between if Bodor was going to be allowed to live or not, Ashton elected to take another member away who wouldn't be able to deal with it instead of making sure that the deed was done. He fully trusted Laudna and Orym to be able to make the decision without them, and they took a more supportive role instead of the more aggressive role, which they normally would have found themselves in before. They took Prism away and made sure that she didn't see what was going to happen next, and made sure to care for her in this time. This is a total character shift from what Ashton was doing before, which is much more of the aggressive character type, like I said earlier. Very pissed off when Laudna died, now is being more supportive because he sees that other people are taking up this aggressive role, which was not something that I could imagine Ashton doing at the beginning of this campaign. During this time separated, they also went through a bit of hardship. They were shown the true side of the gods in their opinion, which is one who's willing to attack anybody who stands against them, as they were trying to free a town from the aggressive boot of the Dawnfather, and while they attacked, the Dawnfather sent an angel after the party. The good guys, in Ashton's eyes. The party are the good guys, the Ruby Vanguard are the bad guys. Why are you wasting your time with us? This showed that the gods aren't really that big of a deal for Ashton, and the main threat is dealing with lewdness, because they could save the gods this way, but that is not their end goal. When they eventually returned with the party, the rest of the party, they would find that FCG, the person that they had been identifying with this whole time, as someone who can relate to them, as someone who's lost their will to move on, Ashton had found something else to move on with, which was the Bell's Hells, but he feared that FCG had not yet. But when he saw that FCG was with Frida, this changed. It allowed Ashton to sort of let go of everything else and realize that now is the time that they need to improve themselves to be the best versions they can, and they feel that Ashton and FCG are both in the position to do that. They need to be the best versions of themselves to be able to deal with the threat ahead, as FCG has found something to move on with and live on for, something that Ashton was trying to give them from the beginning, a purpose to live, not be suicidal, not be crazy and do stupid shit that would risk their own life for the betterment of others. They all need to be one cohesive group, and they need to be the best versions of themselves. And this is something that Ashton realized in this moment when they all came back together. I do believe this is going to reflect in their physical appearance yet again. Ashton is looking to change their clothing, and I'm going to wonder if it's going to change from the fuck off message that was written upon them before to something a lot more positive or something that's much more family affirming. At the beginning of this campaign, I truly believe that Ashton would not have done anything to risk their own neck for the majority of the party, with the exception of FCG. Now, I feel like they would put their neck on the line for anybody in their new family. This is their third family, and by God or gods, it is not getting ripped away from them. They will protect it with everything they have, and that is, to me, the biggest character shift we've had so far. Everyone else was caring and trusting pretty early on. They made sure that everyone else was safe. Ashton, to me, is the one that sort of showed a much harder exterior to the group and is now probably one of the softest members of the group. They went from being soft to being hard to being soft yet again, and I truly believe that this is the greatest character growth out of any of the Bell's Hells. A while back, I made a ranking video for the best player characters, and I put Ashton sort of somewhere in the middle, and I truly believe by the end of this campaign, he will easily be in the top 10. Without any doubt in my mind, Ashton has been pushing their way up with every episode that goes by, and they are truly becoming one of my favorite characters in the Bell's Hells. And there you have it. This video was just me wanting to talk about Ashton, as Ashton has tremendously changed for me as a character throughout this entire campaign and slowly becoming one of my favorites. Laudna still holds that position, but I'd be hard-pressed to say anybody else stands above Ashton right now. And yeah, that's the video. If I sound funny, it's because I lost my voice at the beginning of this weekend, and it's getting better now. But yeah, less talking will probably do me good, so recording a video might not be a great idea. But I will see you guys on Friday for a recap video for episode 68, I believe. Very close to 69. We're almost there, guys. So yeah, I'll see you guys on Friday. Peace.